Your calendar isn't the bottleneck, your battery is. Time moves at a fixed speed, but your ability to turn minutes into output surges and dips like a power grid. Think of time as inventory on the shelves and energy as the electricity that makes the whole store work. Inventory without electricity sits there and gathers dust. When the lights are bright, orders move, customers get served, and the checkout flows. When the power flickers, it does not matter how many hours you set aside. Throughput collapses. The durable shift is to manage electricity first, and only then decide how to spend inventory, because a smaller, well-powered window beats a long, dim one. Under the hood, initiation depends heavily on dopamine. Sustained alerting depends on noradrenaline, and selective focus relies on acetylcholine. Low dopamine tone makes the doorway to a task feel heavier than it is, which is why the first step often hurts more than the 10th. Noradrenaline needs a middle lane. Too little and you drift, too much and you jitter and overcorrect. Acetylcholine pins your spotlight on the right cues and suppresses noise. But it burns quickly when your environment forces constant recalibration. The biggest energy leaks are needless context switching, tasks that hide decisions in their title, and rewards that arrive so late, your brain quietly labels the work a bad trade. The popular story says discipline means pushing at the same intensity for the entire day. Reality is messier and kinder. Your brain runs in ultradian waves with natural peaks and troughs, so surfing the peaks beats white-knuckling the valleys. Another story says heavy planning fixes low energy. In truth, endless planning consumes the very fuel you need for execution. The win is planned just enough to strip ambiguity and then move. A third story insists motivation must precede action. In practice, micro-action reliably precedes motivation because a quick, clean win gives dopamine a reason to rise. Breaks are not a luxury either. Short, deliberate off-ramps keep noradrenaline in the useful middle range and make restarting cheap. Evidence supports the shift. The Yerkes-Dodson relationship shows performance is best at a moderate arousal level. When arousal is too low, you underperform, and when it is too high, accuracy and flexibility crash. That is energy management, not a calendar trick. Research on cognitive effort valuation shows dopamine does more than pay you after success. It changes how costly effort feels beforehand, which is why a visible early win makes the next block feel lighter. Field data from knowledge work diaries repeatedly shows that morning energy predicts proactive behavior and solution generation more than the number of hours booked. Sleep findings are blunt. Trim even 1 hour across several nights, and reaction time slow, while task switching increases, a double hit to attention stability. Hours still matter, but they only pay when the chemistry sits in the right lane. So the practical question is how to put electricity first today. The answer has two levers you can actually pull in a normal workday. Reduce start friction and bundle context. Start friction is every little resistance between you and the first keystroke. A vague task name that hides 10 decisions, a file you have to hunt for, a tool that demands a login detour, or a window full of alerts, all tax dopamine before you begin. When you remove even one of those decisions in advance, the doorway gets lighter and the brain is willing to enter. Context bundling means grouping work by cognitive posture rather than topic. 3 drafting passes in a row are cheaper than bouncing from drafting to slide layout to analytics, because acetylcholine can keep the same target template, and noradrenaline does not need to spike and fall with every mode change. Reducing start friction is an act of translation. Turn every block into a verb, paired with a noun that implies one physical action and a visible finish line. Draft intro paragraph for the landing page beats work on website because the former suggests fingers moving and a paragraph shipped. Move the file and the raw material into one obvious place before you break for lunch or before you stop for the evening, so the next start is warm. Shrink the task until you can imagine finishing it without a sigh. If the first move still feels sticky, ask what the smallest observable action would look like, and do only that. Momentum outperforms perfection during the first minute, and a clean finish is the cheapest way to raise dopamine for the second minute. Bundling context is an act of constraint. Choose one mode for the next block. Generate, refine, or ship. Generate means produce raw material with wide tolerances. Refine means improve what exists with tighter tolerances. Ship means finalize and transmit with narrow tolerances. Each mode prefers different tools and a different level of error acceptance. Switching modes burns fuel, so you protect 45 minutes for one posture and then switch deliberately. You can even assign mild environmental cues to each posture. Stand or use a higher surface when generating. Sit with noise reduction when refining, and move to a different chair or room when shipping. Stable cues reduce the recalibration tax and keep noradrenaline inside the useful middle zone. Here is a compact sequence that treats energy as the primary variable. Choose one task that fits on a single line. Shrink it until it can fit inside 20 minutes and set a timer. Put your phone in another room. Close everything except the tool you will touch and place a visible marker where completion will be obvious, like an empty box at the top of your note. Press start and move your hands right away, even if the first 10 seconds are clumsy. Stop when the timer hits 0 or when the visible marker is done. Whichever comes first, stand up for a brief pause and mark the box in a way your eyes will notice later. Give yourself a small, predictable reward that your brain recognizes, then write the next tiny action so the following start is warm. Start, finish, reward. In that order, with no drama. If you want a clearer picture of where your power is leaking, scan the last 2 days and name the moments you felt sharp without trying. Those are your natural peaks. Defend them for work that demands precision rather than volume. And let the valleys absorb coordination and admin. The point is not to wait for perfect vibes. The point is to stack the deck so useful vibes are more likely by design. You script one early win at the start of a block so dopamine greases the rails. You reduce ambiguity so acetylcholine can lock on and stay cheap. You lower the number of switches so noradrenaline does not have to keep spiking. No new app required. Fewer doors, clearer signs, shorter distance between you and doing. The calendar still matters, but it should follow the battery. Plan duration by energy cost, not by topic importance. A demanding analysis might deserve 30 disciplined minutes during a natural peak with a forced stop, even if the project is massive, because protecting chemistry preserves quality and makes restarts easy. Routine coordination can expand to 60 during a valley because lower energy will not penalize it as much. Treat clean finishes as the metric that counts. Clean finish is an artifact you can point to without explaining, such as a paragraph shipped, a query run, a slide exported. If you cannot point to the thing, you probably scheduled time instead of engineering energy. When you feel yourself sliding, assume the system needs a reset, rather than assuming you need more willpower. Shrink the scope to something that fits inside 20 minutes, remove one decision from the doorway, and pick a mode. Put a visible finish marker in your field of view, and promise yourself a small, predictable reward when you hit it. The goal is not heroics. The goal is to make the next start cheap. When starts are cheap, output returns faster than any pep talk about discipline. There is a social layer to this. If your environment trains you to be constantly interruptible, you are donating noradrenaline to other people's calendars. You can renegotiate without theatrics by declaring brief office hours for rapid replies and 1 or 2 deep work windows where you are intentionally slow. You are not disappearing, you are protecting the electricity that powers the outcomes the team actually cares about. When you do respond, do it in batches so your chemistry can settle rather than spiking every few minutes. People adjust quickly when your results become reliably better. Energy also interacts with sleep in a way that is easy to test. You do not need a full lifestyle overhaul to get a return. Aim to keep your wake time consistent for 1 week and front-load a quick win within the first hour of work each day. That single early success will reduce the felt cost of the next effort, and the steady wake time will flatten the mid-morning dip. Treat caffeine as a tool rather than a ritual by pairing it with work that has a clear finish marker, and avoid chasing it when you are spiraling, because it often pushes arousal past the useful middle lane. Nutrition and movement can be kept simple without turning your day into wellness theater. Eat something that prevents a hard blood sugar whiplash before a peak block, and choose a small dose of movement that raises heart rate without inviting procrastination. 10 slow breaths of fresh air on the balcony, a short set of stairs, or a brisk lap around the block is enough to nudge alertness up without burning the time you set aside to create. The test for any lever is whether it makes the next start cheaper within minutes, not whether it looks impressive on paper. The easiest way to prove any of this to yourself is immediate and small. Pick one task that matters and run the 20-minute sequence exactly as written. Treat the visible check mark as the only win that counts. If you end with fuel left, run a second round. If you stall, Do not raise the goal. Lower the doorway by shrinking the first action, moving the file closer, or switching to the mode that feels lighter. You are training your brain to associate starting with success, and that association compounds across the week. If this clicked, run one 20-minute block today and tell me what you shipped. If you want more systems like this, you know where the subscribe button lives, but the only click that matters now is the timer for your first block.